texting, doing nasty things. All you wanna do is just straight gossiping.
Girl, why you wanna gossip? I took you on that trip. I gave you all that stuff, all that junk. And you just wanna gossip. Hurt my feelings, girl. Why you wanna do that to me? When I got you all those things. Got you all those things. Got you all the things.
Gossiping. Why you wanna hurt me with your gossiping? Backbiting ain't nothing to all of me. Backbite, DM, and texting. Why you wanna do that to me? Gossiping. Telling my friends I got a little bitty thing.
Gossiping and gossiping. Whispering and backbiting going. Psst, 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 psst. Rumors going crazy. Going crazy. It's like a fractal of rumors all around. Now the streets talk me down. They make fun of me because of you, girl. Please delete and remove all the texts that you sent out. I don't care to who. Just delete. Just delete. Just delete all of those bad feelings, girl.
Gossiping. Why you wanna be just straight up gossiping? Sending nasty text to my grandmama. Even Granny thinks that I'm a loser now.
Girl, why you wanna do that? It's just mean, straight up spiteful, gross. And it's also hurtful too. It's called gossiping. Perhaps if you looked it up, you would know it's wrong.
Gossiping. Why you wanna do that straight up gossiping? Girl, tag with me. Why you wanna tag all your girlfriends too? Tell them in a mass text that I love.
Hey Piggy. Hey Piggy.
Don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Ooh. Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey Piggy, just give me one. Ooh.
When I'm with my boo, 1 and 1 miss 2, then it mix free. Yeah, we had the baby. She want Versace, she want Gucci. Gotta lay down all my bands on the Lambo, cause she don't like my Volvo, no. Yeah, she got a diamond grill on her baby teeth. Coolest kid in the nursery, but you know, I'm not a materialist, an idealist. I flow with the transcendental argument. Reading Wittgenstein, investigate my girl philosophically. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? I just want the money.
Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey Piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey Piggy,
Yeah,
just give me one.
yeah,
Ooh.
straight up, I'm simping for you, girl. I want my heart, want you in my world. I see you in the super chat, I see you wanna go from me. I see you on the OnlyFans and you got my heart in your hand. Please don't crush it, girl, understand that I'm a simp, but I'm proud. I'm a geek, but I'm proud. And I wanna feel your breath at a convention. I want my picture of you groping my ass to be on social media. I want my friends to see it on Discord. I'm gonna upload it to my subreddit and they all gonna see it. My friends, they gonna like it, they gonna retweet it, but I feel that it's gonna be the greatest moment of my life, and I want you to be a part of it, girl. Yeah.
Don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. struck, ain't no way to be.
Oh, what's up, y'all? Long anticipated. The preacher man says it's the end of time, and the Mississippi River, she's a-going dry. The interest is up and the Bitcoin's down, and you only get mugged if you go downtown. I live back in the woods, you see. The woman and the kids and the dogs and me. I got a shotgun, a rifle, and a four-wheel drive, and a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. Woo! I got my Versace camo shirt. Literally a Versace camo shirt. Who even knew it existed? That way, I can LARP as a country boy while I'm also a bougie boy. You don't even know how to handle that. I just blew your mind. I can plow a field all day long. I can catch catfish from dusk till dawn. We make our own whiskey and our own smoke too. Ain't too many things these old boys can do. We grow good old tomatoes and homemade wine, and the country boy can survive. 'Cause you can't starve us out and you can't make us run. That's Hank, if you don't know. One of the many Tennessee-ish anthems that you will hear should you decide to move to Tennessee. Now, I was looking through should I move to Tennessee videos, and they're all from realtors. Like, you think that it's this dude or it's this boomer woman over here, and they're all just realtors, right? Should you move to Tennessee? 10 facts about should you move to Tennessee. Number 1, low cost of living. Number 2, blah, blah, blah. Number 3, pools, blah, blah, blah. Number 4, weather, Number 5, contact my realty, blah, 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 right? So boring ass videos. That's not what this is. This is unique because this is from a resident of Tennessee. All these other people are like realtors that moved here, millennials that moved here. Like this crew right here, this couple. And they're basically telling a bunch of people their age, 25? Should you move here? Anyway, most of these videos are dumb and boring. But my unique approach to this is because I've lived in a lot of different states. I've lived in California. I've lived in Chicago. A lot of my growed up years, adolescence, right? I grew up not in Tennessee, but in San Diego. Because I had a military dad, and I was out there in San Diego. So then I moved back, though, for high school. So I did live, again, another phase of my formative years out here in the South. So I thought, you know what, I actually have a really good approach to this question. Plus, given that the audience has grown so much in the last few years, one of the top questions I get asked all the time, a lot of my good buddies, a lot of my friends, in fact, in the last month, we had multiple people, hey, I'm coming to visit. Hey, I want to move to Tennessee. Perhaps give me a tour. I want a state tour. I want a tour of where you live. I want a tour of Nashville area. I want a tour of outside Nashville. Now, and that was a lot of fun. So we're actually facilitating quite a few people who are interested in Tennessee. But is Tennessee right for you? Not necessarily. I'm going to give it to you the straight up pros and the cons. It's not all pros here, dude. So you need to know what to expect. You need to know what to expect. A lot of people are scared of guns. Tennessee is not for you if you are afraid of guns. If you tremble when you see a real gun. Because a gigantic portion of the state owns guns. So if you've grown up with guns, you're used to that, right? I come from a family of military people and hunting and fishing guides. I am not a hunting and fishing guide. Okay. I'm the black sheep weirdo of my family. I did not end up being a person who hunts and fishes. I did do a lot of fishing when I was younger, but I've been hunting a couple times. In fact, one of the times that I went hunting with Hank Jr. So I kind of grew up in the bread and butter ethos of country music, outlaw country. That's my upbringing. I was never a huge fan of country music. Now that I'm older, I kind of appreciate that older outlaw country, right? I can listen to Willie, I can listen to Hank, I can listen to Waylon Jennings and that kind of country. I don't care for the pop country. However, this is a huge draw. A lot of people love pop country. And so I will say that if you are a fanatic for country music, you would love Nashville. I mean, Nashville is the mecca of that. Nashville is also the mecca of Christian music. Now, I think most of that stuff is pretty cringe, especially the evangelical mimic copy of every pop band, right? But if you happen to be into that domain, when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, I knew some people in those circles and some of the people involved in those bands and whatnot. I kind of got to where I didn't really care for any of that stuff anymore. But so that's what it's kind of the mecca now of is country music, Christian music, and now there's kind of a rock and roll ethos mecca that began in the 2000s when you started getting people like Jack White moving to Nashville. So it's a kind of a rock and roll hub as well. But let's get a few of the kind of the obvious things out of the way first and foremost. I am not an East Tennessee person. East Tennessee is a little bit different than West Tennessee. East Tennessee, the lay of the land. Okay, it's mountains. It's the hill people. I mean, it's way different than West Tennessee. West Tennessee is flat, woods, and farmers. Okay, we don't have mountains. And the breed of the crazy country people in the mountains are their own crazy breed. I'm just going to warn you that right now. Now, not everybody in East Tennessee is a crazy mountain person. This is where we get hillbilly, like the Appalachian crazy people. I mean, they even have their own myths. The haint. Okay. I'm from Tennessee. I've never even heard of a haint. Apparently, is that a haint is a feral wood person. So now we're getting into cryptozoology here, right? I don't have any opinion on whether there are. I don't know if there's haints. But I've lived in Tennessee my whole life. I've never heard of a haint until the other day. Haint. And this is the whole mythology of, oh, well, you don't whistle when you're going in the woods, right? Whistle while you twerk. Do not whistle and twerk in East Tennessee woods because the hill people will get you. The feral hill people. Now, I will actually say that it's possible that that's true. Okay, I don't believe in Bigfoot. By the way, Bigfoot is suddenly everywhere in the South. I don't ever remember this when I was a kid. No Bigfoot sightings. But now when you drive from Tennessee, West Tennessee, East Tennessee, down to Georgia, there's Bigfoot crap everywhere. So what is it? My best guess is that there's feral hill people that are haints. And of course, here we go. We're going to get the stupid ass lagging stream. I don't know. As long as you can hear me, it's okay. You don't need to see my beautiful e-celebrity face. I'm sure you all see enough of it. Now, personally, I've not seen any crazed hill people in a long time because I don't spend a lot of time in East Tennessee. It's a different vibe. Now, East Tennessee does have its unique attractions. They've got, your waterfalls. They got you caves. They got you hill people. They got you feral woods people out there with their moonshine stills. And again, some of that is true because like the myths, because I had friends that I grew up with whose dads and grandparents lived in East Tennessee and did the whole moonshine thing. And so they were running, you know, moonshine during Prohibition. And everybody has these stories of hill people. Okay, but I'd never heard of a haint until the other day. But apparently that's the thing. So if you have superstitious fears of cryptozoological pseudo Sasquatchian creatures, aka feral hill people, don't move to East Tennessee, because that's probably what's going down. Because I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I could see there being backwoods, hills have eyes, radiated cannibal deliverance people. Now, top question that always comes up. I was watching some girl's videos where she was like, I'm from Europe and I'm going to travel to the most dangerous place in America. It's called Texas. Texas is not dangerous? What are you talking about? What is, Jamie's in there laughing. We were watching this video this morning. I'm like, do people from other countries, like, do they really believe all the, I mean, you might as well believe in the feral Sasquatch people out in the woods. I mean, that's not real. Texas is not a dangerous state. It's like people think that where there are laws about owning guns or whatever, that like everybody's having saloon shootouts every week. Like we ride our horses into the saloon and then, you know, there's shootouts every day. It's just that dangerous. What? I mean, it's not like that. Okay. So what is the reality of the hill people or the rednecks over here in West Tennessee? So anywhere that you're in a city that's at least 5,000-10,000 people up, you're not going to see any of this. Okay. However, if you get 30-40 minutes outside of any city, and Tennessee has a lot of rural areas, there are some creepy, crazy redneck, aka feral hill people. Not so much cannibals as there are like crazy meth heads. There are crazy meth heads everywhere in Tennessee outside of the cities. So all you got to do is not go 40 minutes outside of nowhere where you see trailers with couches, washing machines on the front porch. Okay. You will see that. When you see that, don't get out. Just keep driving. That's the only danger when it comes to that kind of stuff. When I was growing up, I did grow up in a very rural area, and I went to a very small elementary school, etc. And there were people that were like living in the people that didn't have electricity, people that were living in buses. Not me, but I'm just saying I knew of people like this. Okay. I'm not knocking people that are super poor. I'm not dissing people. I'm just saying that does exist. And I can think of a couple cases of rumored INCEST deliverance people. Okay, so that does exist in rare cases way out. But now if you're in Nashville, you're not going to be dealing with deliverance people. So Nashville is basically now Austin. Right. Well, Austin was like 10 years ago when they were building Austin up into mega city, destroying it basically. Nashville is right now at that cusp when they're just putting up housing. I mean, there's 15 cranes building 15 different, complexes all over Nashville. So Nashville is right now exploding. So in other words, expect Nashville to be Austin in 10, 15 years. Maybe even sooner. So I'm getting way off topic with my list, but that's how we do it around. We just ramble around here. Somebody said that day, why you ramble so much? Get to the point. Because it's a live stream, and that's how you make money over here, man. That's what I do. That's how I can live a Gucci camo lifestyle. I mean, Versace camo lifestyle, bro. We're talking about Tennessee fighting song. We're talking about what's it really like? What are the pros? What are the cons? I'm going to give you 10 pros. I'm going to give you 10 cons. Up on monkeypox, Tennessee. This is the Tennessee song. You know this first. I wish that I was up on monkeypox, Tennessee. Corn, whiskey, and other southern things. Allergies to me, right? So it's all allergies to me. That's all I know. What do I think about Tennessee? Allergies. That's the worst part of Tennessee. Number one bad, if you have allergies, you're going to be suffering here. I wish I had allergies somewhere else, not in Tennessee. That's the first terrible thing. One of the worst places, especially if you're down on the Tennessee-Georgia border. Memphis over here, Tennessee-Georgia border, Chattanooga. Allergy nightmare. One of the worst places in the country to be. And I got terrible allergies. So, yes, you're going to have to deal with that first. Number two, con. Everything is spread out. Okay. If you want country living, I don't want to be in a city. I want a homestead. Number one, realize that farming and homesteading are a lot of dang work. So unless you're prepared to have a part-time, full-time job on top of whatever you do, you can't just go be a homesteader or farmer. Now, if you have enough money saved up where you can go into that part-time, full-time, that's maybe something you can do. But it's a lot of freaking work. I've met several people who moved from the north to the south to be homesteaders and straight up full on farmers. And some of them did it, but it took them many years, and it was heck of bad times on work for a long time. So keep that in mind. This is country, rural area in the sense that everything is spread out and it's woods everywhere. I'm talking about West Tennessee. East Tennessee is woodsy too. It's just mountains, right? But it's flat over here. We don't have mountains. We don't got them curves, right? It's flat over here. But if you are into hunting, fishing, nature, woods, sticks and rocks and trees, you will love it. If you love trees, you will love it. If you're tired of trees, don't come to Tennessee because it's all trees, dude. Trees everywhere. It is probably the mecca for like fishing tournaments, hunting tournaments, that kind of stuff. That's what this state is. Again, I'm not really into that stuff. So I can appreciate it because on the one hand, if you live here, you will have access to a lot of foods like that. Like you could just go to the farmers markets and you can buy straight up. You can buy, they got Amish cows. They got Mennonite cows. They got redneck cows. Like they got cows straight up from the most 1800s type of situation you could think of. In fact, there's a 1800s bison settlement where you could go. I'm not joking. There's literal bison fields. You go just buy bison. Give me a dang gaggle of bison, right? Bison meat. So in that regard, in terms of, what your diet is, how you live, keto, carnivore, it's great for that. And even if you're not keto carnivore, Tennessee is a farming state. So there's a lot of farms in West Tennessee because you can't have farms over in the mountains. So that's what it is over here on our side, right? So West Tennessee, farm boys, hunting boys, fishing boys, if you don't live in the city. If you're not into those things, you need to keep in mind that you're not going to have as much in common with people. So if you're looking for bookish, sophisticate people, okay, you want to meet some intellectuals, you're not going to meet them outside of the cities. You're not going to find fast boys out here in the country of Tennessee. However, there's pros and cons to that, right? Because you're going to find slow boys, but you're also going to find salt of the earth boys. Salty boys, but in a good way. Salt of the earth boys. If that's what you're looking for, very Southern hospitality. Okay, that's very real. And people are oftentimes surprised when they move from California or from Yankee land down here. They're like, what?
Why are the people so nice down here? It weirds me out. How come everybody's so nice? They're always waving. I don't even know these people.
That's because we're not crazy people like you. We're not a bunch of degenerate evil people. That's why, because we're still nice around here. But you need to understand that Southern hospitality also, people are not going to put up with much of your junk. So, for example, if you like to provoke people, not a good idea to do that in the South, because a lot of people have a lot of guns. so not wise to engage in provocative behaviors if you move down here. Now, this is not something to fear. It's not something to be afraid of. No, that's just a Yankee. That's just a generic Yankee. It's like that European girl who's like,
I'm going to go to Texas, the most dangerous place.
Texas is not the most dangerous place in America. Are you crazy? The most dangerous places in America are like Compton, East St. Louis, Memphis. Okay, those are the most dangerous places. Not middle of nowhere Texas. Okay, we're not having shootouts in saloons. It's not like that. Other most dangerous places, perhaps Juarez, the border. Okay, maybe in that case, but not middle of nowhere Texas or Tennessee. It's not dangerous. And even if you're out in the rural, like it's not like everywhere you drive 30 minutes out of a town, it's like some kingdom of meth, right? It's not like that. It's just that you will encounter that stuff. Like if you were to drive 30 minutes outside of a small town, you would probably see a handful of ratty ass nasty trailers, and probably one or two of those are like meth heads. So it's not like everywhere. It's not like there's a city that's like a sanctuary and then it's like the kingdom of meth zombies outside of that. It's not like that. Okay, so don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that you will find crazy people out there, but you have to go, a significant ways outside of town. Oh, the other thing I was going to say about things being spread out, if you did say move to a rural area, right? So you don't want to live in Nashville. Let's say, no, I want to take my kids, my family to something, an hour, 2 hours outside of Nashville, cheaper, rural. I want to have land, I want a homesteadish type of thing. You have to expect also that you're going to be probably anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes away, or even 30, sometimes even 45 minutes to an hour away from things that you might be used to getting in no time where you were previously. So that will get to be annoying after a while. For example, let's say you like to go to Whole Foods, you like to eat, certain organic restaurants or whatever. If you move rural, anything like that, you can expect you're going to be driving 30, 45 minutes to get that. Even worse, you might even be in a situation where to get organic food, you're going to be driving an hour to 2 hours away. So things are spread out. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for limited access to the things that you're probably used to wherever you're coming from, right? Unless you're coming from a small town. So number one draw to this area, remember, is nature, hunting, fishing, this kind of stuff. If you're not into that, you're going to be limited in terms of what you're able to find commonalities with other people about or based upon. Now, if you are wanting to move to a city, that's not going to be that big of a deal, right? So let's say you want to move to one of the nicer cities in Tennessee, Nashville, Chattanooga, something like that. Yes, you can find a little more sophisticated camaraderie, right? It's not all country boys. It's not all salt of the earth. You'll find more intellectually minded people, more people who are, have higher degrees, these kinds of things. I would say in terms of overall cities in Tennessee, in my view, I've not spent a lot of time in Knoxville. I have been there several times. I don't really care for Knoxville personally because it's a giant college town. I don't really care for college towns. They're kind of annoying. There might be some pros to a college town in that they might have some of the nicer things that you're used to having. But on the other hand, they can be very annoying. You can get a lot of these just idiots all the time. A lot of implants, a lot of people coming in who really don't care about the area, and they'll trash it up, right? A lot of college kids are pretty trashy, live nasty, ruckus, wild people. So if you're looking for a quieter kind of life, then you want to avoid the big college towns like Knoxville. And Knoxville's, like, people will be obsessed with football, especially because Knoxville has University of Tennessee. So if you're not prepared for people who treat football like a religion, be prepared for that. I mean, it's something about Southern culture that goes back decades and decades and decades, where it's this religion for them. I don't get it. I quit caring about college and professional sports when I was 17, 16, when I realized I wasn't going to be in the NBA. So I grew out of that, right? Time to grow up. But here it is a religion. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for like the whole city, if you move to Knoxville, will revolve around University of Tennessee Vols. I don't care for that, so I wouldn't be interested in that. Nashville, Chattanooga are probably the two best cities in Tennessee. And they have a lot of pros, both of those cities. Those would be, for example, venues. Nashville isn't just country, like I said, so there's a lot of great venues for other kinds of music. I've seen tons and tons of bands over the years in Nashville, so that's one of the great perks. If you're a big music fan and it's not just country or the cringy Christian music scene, I mean, they pretty much get everybody. And it's kind of a hub, right? So if you like bluegrass, blues, if you like classic rock, if you like modern rock, if you like, I think even dance music, right? I mean, Nashville, I've been to, over the years, different dance clubs, different raves in Nashville. I've seen everybody from Leonard Skinner to Michael McDonald even. I don't even know how I saw Michael McDonald in Nashville, but somehow I did at one point. He came from somewhere I didn't wanna go. I've seen The Cure in Nashville. I've seen Beck. I've seen Hank Williams Jr. I've seen Charlie Daniels. I've seen I don't know, a lot of freaking Weezer, right? So you're always going to have some kind of like excellent music situation, at least prior to Koof in Nashville. And so if you're a big music fan, Nashville is definitely one of the best places to be. Now, I will also warn you that Nashville is, again, turning into Austin, so it probably has a limited amount of time before it goes completely woke and unbearable. And if you're in Nashville, you're going to be dealing with a lot of shitty hipsters. You're going to be dealing with a lot of douchebags. You're going to be dealing with hipster douchebags. A lot of that. That's like Nashville is a mecca for hipsters. Still, I know hipster isn't even a thing anymore. It's like a 2000. It's still there. So expect that. One thing that's very annoying about Nashville is that now that they've really exploded it in terms of like a tourist attraction, it's almost unbearable to go to the downtown area, right? So if you go down to downtown where all of the honky tonks and the bars and the 2nd Avenue, Broadway, all that stuff is, it's nothing but like crowds and crowds of drunks and the chicks that ride on those like 16-person bicycles where you bicycle and you yell and you're drunk. Party buses and whatever those like party barges are. That's all it is now. It's like just yelling chunky bitches. That's all downtown Nashville. So if you're not ready for yelling chunky drunk bitches 24/7, you're not going to like Nashville. But if you do like that, then it's heaven for you. What else? Let's see. I did a couple pros, a couple cons. So monetarily, it's also good because it's very cheap. So cost of living outside of Nashville, outside of the cities, right? So if you wanted a city that's smaller than Nashville, but still fairly nice and has potential, Chattanooga would probably be better for you. I'm not going to tell you to move to Memphis because there's some nice things about Memphis. There's some cool things about Memphis, but Memphis is also one of the highest violent crime cities in the U.S. Now, it's not all of Memphis, right? So certain areas of Memphis downtown are going to be very dangerous, very crime ridden, but it doesn't mean you can't visit Memphis and see nice areas. But I don't really care about blues. I'm not an Elvis fan, so I don't really have that much of an interest in Memphis. There used to be some really cool used bookstores in Memphis that I used to go to that had pretty large collections. I bought many books over the last 25 years in Memphis. Some of those I think are just closed. They don't even exist anymore. So a lot of bookstores have closed down. Books are going away. So unless you're just really into blues and Beale Street, I don't really think that there's that much interesting about Memphis. There are some. I think they still have the Riverfront music, like the giant music festival, where they do get pretty big bands to come to Memphis. I can't remember if I went to one of those maybe back in the 90s. I don't even remember. But for me, it's just a lot easier to go to Nashville, and the venues in Nashville for concerts are a lot better. You've got the Ryman, you've got the Riverfront thingamajig that's open. I forget what that thing's called, but those are typically, you're going to get really good acts there. What else? Nashville has zanies, so there's a pretty regular series of stand-ups, comics that come to Nashville. Again, there's more of an intellectual and educated population, I would say, in Nashville. Nashville, though, is keep in mind, is getting a lot of these imports. So a lot of people who move from out of state, they're moving to Nashville. So the first thing to keep in mind is that while rural speaking, it's very cost effective to live. Cost of living, I think, in Tennessee is like 13 to 15% below average in the rural areas. So it's still cheap. There's not a state income tax. But if you move to Nashville, it's super expensive right now. Like the average home in Nashville right now is almost up to $500,000. So if you want to live inside Nashville, get ready to pay quite a bit. And even the outer ring of Nashville right now, especially down in the really nice areas like Brentwood and Franklin, houses there are like $1 million. Like if you wanted to live inside Franklin, which is the nicest kind of little cuted up area outside of Nashville proper, you're gonna be paying $1 million, bro. Right? Now hold on. So yes, comedy, to be clear, stand-up in general is pretty cringe, right? But we have some good friends that we made in that domain, right? We're big fans of, we like Sam Tripoli, we like Eddie Bravo. I'm going to see Theo Vaughn tonight at Zanies in Nashville. So there's still some good comedians, right? But I agree with you that stand-up, for the most part, is pretty cringe right now. But there are some cool guys, some people that we do like. So, let's see, we covered the nature, we covered the state tax, the wholesomes. Let's do another con. So we've been doing some of the pros. Well, one of the cons was the cost of living in the Nashville area, right? So it's going to be super expensive. However, Chattanooga still reasonably priced. Anywhere outside of Nashville, pretty reasonably priced, or even on that lower end. And again, the further out you go, the cheaper it will be. So if you really want to move to Tennessee and you don't have a lot, even if you want to just move here to get away from some terrible situation in a big blue city or something, you could live rural and rent a place for super cheap. For example, I mean, not too long ago, I rented a farmhouse, a 2-bedroom farmhouse, for $400 a month, even today. like in today's market. That's pretty crazy, right? A 2-bedroom. I mean, it was an older farmhouse. You guys remember that when I used to live stream from the old house with the kind of boxed in library that I had with the Esoteric Hollywood poster in the background? That was a 2-bedroom farmhouse that only cost me $400 a month. So, and I mean, there was like a field and cows. It wasn't my cows, but like I could go touch and pet those cows, even though they weren't my cows. I couldn't eat them, but I could look at them. So you could probably even rent pet cows if you wanted to. If you wanted to live. I mean, you could probably rent a trailer if you really wanted to go cheap style. You could rent a trailer 30 minutes out in the country for probably $350 a month. Now, I don't recommend renting, but I'm saying if you're in that kind of situation. But you also have to keep in mind, too, if you just move to Tennessee or to some rural area, you're going to be very limited in the jobs that you can get. So if you're out in that kind of a, country setting, you're going to see a lot of poverty. You're not going to see a lot of job opportunities unless you want to work at some stupid farm or a dang factory. Okay, so that's fair warning there. If you move to Nashville, can you find a job? Maybe. It just depends on your field of expertise, what you do. If you do like I do, you work from home on the internet, then you can move anywhere as long as you got internet, right? So the more rural you are, another problem you'll have is that if you need internet, if you live out rural Tennessee, you're not going to get internet. It's not going to be good in terms of connections. So keep that in mind. Corporate jobs, Nashville has exploded. There's a lot of that. So all of the big corporate Fortune 500, they're all moving to Nashville. Giant plants of every kind, unfortunately, in Nashville. But if you're looking for jobs like that, you could probably find those kinds of jobs in Nashville. Let's see. Cons. Let's see. We covered. If you like the beach and good weather, you may not want to move to Tennessee. We do have 4 seasons. Sometimes those seasons can be extreme. So you can expect about every 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years on average, one pretty significant ice storm, especially in West Tennessee. Okay, this is one of the things that really prompted me several years ago to want to move to Florida because I got stuck in my house for 8 days because of an ice storm. And that's not fun. It sucks. And you'll start to go nuts after like 8 days, right? So you do have to be prepared for these kinds of weather events as well as tornadoes. Not tomatoes, tornadoes. We do have pretty wild tornadoes. Now, chances of you getting destroyed in a tornado are slim. However, last tornado season last year, a town not very far from me no longer exists. The whole town, downtown, is literally wiped off of the map. Now, they're still rebuilding it now, but, I mean, I've seen in my life, probably 2 or 3 in my whole lifetime, small towns completely gone from tornadoes. Now, I would say in those cases, probably 10, 20, 40 people killed. So you're probably not going to be killed in a tornado. More likely, you might have some minor damage to your house. Okay, so if you're a house owner and you live in Tennessee, worst place to live is inside of a trailer. A mobile home, we call them trailers in the South. A mobile home is the worst place to live, although it is the cheapest, in a tornado. But we are in Tornado Alley, and we do get tornadoes. At least, I think, 20 a year. Not all of those are completely destructive. But again, we had the craziest tornado ever last tornado season, last year. And I've never seen anything like that. I mean, the whole town, not too far from here, is gone. But again, that's an unlikely scenario, right? You're probably not. It's like, I don't even know the odds, but in my lifetime, there's probably been 100 people killed by tornadoes in my lifetime in Tennessee. So out of millions of people, not very likely. But I have seen minor damage to houses and apartments that I've lived in over the years from tornadoes. So keep that in mind. That's what you should expect. House damage from tornadoes, perhaps at some point in your life. And you could also expect damage from ice storms. So when we get ice storms in Tennessee, the ice will cake upon the trees to the extent that the trees will collapse. Not all of them, but in an ice storm, it's a really eerie thing too. When you go outside at like 1 a.m. after the ice storm has hit, and it's totally quiet, except that you will hear trees constantly snapping because they're collapsing under the weight of the ice. It's a really weird, eerie. There's no sound like that. It's not like anything else. And so in those situations, you do want to be prepared to be in your house for 9 to 10 days. In some cases, we had an ice storm a few years ago that was so bad that it actually killed a lot of elderly people, because not in Tennessee, but it was so I'm pretty close to Kentucky. So right up in Kentucky was the worst of the ice storm. And there were people who had no electricity for a month in the middle of winter, right? We're talking 20s down to 0 degrees. And there was quite a few elderly people who froze several years ago. So you need to be prepared for those. I don't like winter. Right? I've grown up in Tennessee. I also grew up in San Diego. I much prefer the beach. Point being, if you want beach and warm weather, don't come to Tennessee. You're not going to like it. That will be part of the struggle for you. And the closest beach is about 10 hours, right? So everybody in Tennessee, when they want to go to the beach, they drive down to Florida. It's about a 10-hour drive. There's also Muscle Shoals, Alabama, I think. You can reach beaches, but that's pretty gross. I would say go to Florida instead of Alabama. So other places in the South, I do not recommend them, okay? Don't go to Georgia, especially not Atlanta. That place is awful. It's a nightmare. Some of my best friends have struggled for years to move out of Atlanta. Do not move to Atlanta. Georgia, I don't care for Georgia. I mean, the people, that's fine. I'm talking about the lay of the land, the awful humidity, it's even worse for allergies in Georgia. Now, you're going to find, good salt of the earth people out in the country of Georgia, much like Tennessee. But it's a little different vibe in Georgia than it is Tennessee. Just telling you from a person who's grown up in Tennessee, I would rather live in Tennessee than anywhere in Georgia or Alabama. I would say on a scale, so Tennessee's here. Georgia would be Kentucky. Do not move to Kentucky. It's like Yankees wearing a cloak of Southerners, right? It's not the South, okay? It's Yankees pretending to be Southerners and pretending to have the positives and the charm of Southerners, and it's all a scam. Kentucky sucks. Do not move to Kentucky. It's a terrible state, terrible laws. It's a commonwealth, way more bureaucratic, stupid laws than Tennessee. Tennessee is way better than Kentucky. The towns in Kentucky, too, they suck. Lexington, Frankfort, Louisville, those are garbage towns. Don't move to those. Horrible places. Tennessee is way better. 100 times, trust me, it's way better. If you're going south, okay, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, garbage states. Don't move to those. Not saying the people in the states, but they get progressively, okay, you got Tennessee here, worse than Tennessee. Tennessee is the best of the South up there with Florida. Okay, these are the best places in the South. I'm telling you right now. South Carolina, okay, that's okay, right? However, I'm going to say Tennessee is the top. Let's go to the next worst. And anything under Tennessee, you don't want to move to. If you had to move somewhere in the South other than Tennessee, South Carolina would probably be the best, right? Under that, Georgia. I wouldn't do it, but if you have to pick Georgia, the rest of them, do not move to these. They are terrible, trashy ghetto places in a redneck sense. Don't move to Arkansas. Don't move to Mississippi. Don't move to Georgia, just trust me, just don't. Alabama, don't go to those. You don't want to go there. Okay. Those are some of the worst states in the South because they rank worse than Tennessee on all the levels. Okay. So just stay away from those. They're not worth it. The weather is even worse, right? Now, it might be a little bit warmer in the sense that you get closer and closer to Florida. But I'm telling you, the two best places in the South are Florida and Tennessee. That's it. And then maybe South Carolina. Everywhere else is just garbage. Don't go there. I mean, those other states are like the rural. It's like the whole state is like what the rural areas of Tennessee are like. So just don't do it. I mean, let's put it this way. Bill Clinton comes from Arkansas, right? What else do you need to know? I think you need to move on down to Arkansas. You know, we got really great water down there. How dare you? You don't want to move there. Let's see some more of the cons. If you can't handle humidity, a lot of people can't take it. They're like, what is this? I've heard of this. What is it? Especially people moving from like New Mexico, Utah, California. Okay, they're not used to southern humidity. They think, oh, I'll be fine there because it's hot. No, this is not dry heat. This is a whole other thing. This is humidity. And famously, the South is super humid, and that's going to be all the South. So you're not going to escape. The only place you can kind of escape humidity is if you're on the beach in Florida. That's it. Because the rest of Florida, even more humid than Tennessee or Georgia. But that's why you see this, you know, archetypal thing of like the Southern man on his porch, and he's drinking a hot glass of Southern sweet tea, and he's just dripping. He's got a little, he's got a way to pat himself for the dripping that's just coming down here. Colonel Sanders sitting on his porch, and he's having to sort of dab his neck and his because it's really like that. I mean, you will step outside, and it will feel like a sauna. Everywhere will feel like a sauna at all times. So you need to be prepared for that. And it is not like Santa Ana dry heat in California. It's not that. It's different. A lot of people find it debilitating. They're like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's like that. That's the southern humidity. That there's one of God's natural creations to help keep the Yankees out of the South. God have given us humidity to help keep the worst of the Yankees out of the South. Now that's the Georgia judge, right? So people in Tennessee, they don't talk like that. That's Georgia. I don't know why. I don't know why people in Georgia have the Southern Georgia drawl. If you think of a Southern lawyer or a Southern judge, y'all thinking of South Carolina, or you're thinking of Georgia. And nobody in Tennessee talks like that. Everybody in Tennessee is more restricted. They talk like this here. You want to talk about Tennessee? It's very tight right there. Everybody talking about Tennessee like this right here. You know, and you might actually have a hard time understanding people too if you move to Tennessee. So keep that in mind as well. If you are a implant from the north, from California or whatever, and you do not move to Nashville, you are going to be surrounded by very country people. And it's different. And they're going to be talking like this here. And you're going to have a hard time understanding what they're saying. Sometimes they're going to be talking real fast like this. And you're like, what? What? What'd you say? Can you repeat that? Well, everybody in Tennessee has this very, it's going to sound like it's right here. No, right? Sometimes there's the Tennessee guy who talks real slow like this here. And then you're gonna have to do a little deciphering of somebody talking like this here in Tennessee. But that's different from Georgia. People in Georgia are gonna talk like this right here. And it's the same for the chicks too. Like Georgia chicks versus Tennessee chicks, they're very different. So just be prepared for that. So bugs. If you live in an area where you're not used to bugs, you're going to get used to mosquitoes, gnats, every kind of crazy bug everywhere at all times. except in the winter. No bugs in the winter, but a lot of people aren't prepared for the bugs. They're like, what is all these critters everywhere? There's going to be critters. They're going to be inside. You're going to have to deal with it. So get ready for that. Lots of bugs. That's another con, perhaps. Let's see. We covered ice storms. We covered weather, allergies. I like the sunshine. Unfortunately, Tennessee is in an overcast domain of Tornado Alley. So a lot of the year is going to be overcast. And I don't really care for that. I would rather be in Florida on a beach with a lot of sunshine. But keep in mind that you're going to have a window of a few months in Tennessee where you're going to get a lot of sunshine. And unfortunately, the rest of the year, it's going to be very overcast. And especially in the winter, it's going to be very cold. So be prepared for that. Now, snowstorms, no, we don't get a lot of snow. Like I said, we do get that giant ice storm that comes every 2 or 4 years. But usually on an average, we get 1 to 2 snows every year that are maybe a couple inches. Maybe we get a 6 to 8 inch crazy snow once every decade or something. Okay, so that's it. You're much more likely to experience the ice storm than you are a big significant snow, because it will during January. Usually the ice storms happen in January. It does get down to 0. Last winter, I had never seen it negative. I don't recall Tennessee ever hitting negatives, but I think last winter we hit like -2. And that was pretty crazy. I'd never seen that in Tennessee before. But let's see. We covered country people, slow people, low IQ in the country. You will experience that. Be prepared for that. But you will meet nice salt of the earth people. So there's a trade-off, right? If you are a single man, I do not recommend you moving to the country, rural areas. And I'm just going to have to be real with you, because the diet of the South is trash. And that means that most people are pretty significantly hand planets. About half of the population now is significantly, at least, maybe 80% overweight. I'm talking like big time overweight. I'm talking about like the whole state is starting to turn into an inside of a Walmart. So unless you like big women and you're a single dude, do not expect to live in a rural area and have a lot of options. So just be prepared for that. Also be prepared for, if you're a single man and you move to the country, be prepared for a lot of single moms. So you may not be wanting that either for your single dating options, if you catch my drift. Now, if you do want to move to a place as a single man with a good chance of meeting a salt of the earth kind of girl who probably does want to have a family and comes out of the Bible Belt, then I would say move to areas that are a little larger than the super rural areas, right? So towns with about 80,000, 100,000, 500,000, right? The Chattanoogas, the Nashvilles, or towns like that. You will have a much better chance of meeting a wholesome girl. So that is one of the positives of the South. One of the other cons I have to mention is that, especially for us Orthodox, there are not a lot of Orthodox options in Tennessee. Now, there are some, right? But usually in your big towns like Memphis, Nashville, there's only going to be a limited couple of Orthodox options, right? I'm going to say avoid Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. So that does exist in Memphis and Nashville, and in Chattanooga, probably Knoxville too. But outside of that, you're going to have maybe an Antiochian Orthodox church, and maybe in rural places a ROCOR, right? So again, maybe. Nashville has Serb now, and an outside of Nashville ROCOR option. Franklin has a Antiochian, but if you go to Nashville, remember that the Antiochian option is still going to be about 30, 45 minutes outside of Nashville. And when you get up, you might think, oh, that's no big deal. Okay, but when you wake up Sunday morning and you've got to drive through a bunch of traffic down the interstate to get to the Antiochian church in Franklin, you got to be prepared for delays and a long drive, right? So remember, this is a city that's being turned into a big city. So now Nashville's becoming Austin, and the traffic is a nightmare. Another con. If you're going to do Nashville, get ready for horrible traffic. So what used to take, 10 years ago to get from one side of Nashville to the other, I'm gonna just drive over there in 5 minutes. No. It's going to take you about 30 minutes now. So get prepared for 20 to 30 minute drives, which used to take 5 to 10. Again, if you're going to be in the Nashville area. Now, other people say, I'm going to move to a town 1 hour outside of Nashville. I'm going to move to Clarksville. Okay. Be prepared there are some pros to Clarksville or something like that, but Clarksville is a military town. So military towns are kind of like the white person version of ghetto, right? They're going to be kind of biker bar trashy. There's going to be it's not going to be the best option. It will be cheaper, and there'll be a few nice things about a place like Clarksville. But keep in mind that the drive from Clarksville, it might seem, it's just a 40-minute drive, 30 minutes. No. Traffic makes it worse, so expect it to be about an hour. And for many years, they let that Clarksville to Nashville road just completely disintegrate into basically, it's like Mario Kart, right? I mean, you're having to dodge like freaking potholes everywhere. I'm talking about serious potholes that will destroy your car. And they let that just deplete into nothing. And only recently did they just start to patch some of those potholes. And you might say, who cares about that? No, trust me, dude. I'm telling you, you drive that road, and if you don't drive it with perfect Mario Kart precision, you will destroy your car. And that drive also is annoying. So it's not what sounds like no big deal. 40-minute drive from Clarksville to Nashville is not that great after a while, right? After you do it several times, I've done it many, many times over 25 years. It's going to be rough. And you're going to start to get to where you're like, you know what? I don't really feel like driving to Nashville. Now, I think Clarksville does have one Orthodox mission. I've never been to that mission, so I can't say. But so if you're moving to Clarksville thinking it's going to be, a hop, skip, and a jump over to Nashville, I would caution against that. Let's see. I'm almost done, I think, with the cons. Geography. I mean, it can kind of get monotonous too. Now, let's say you lived in California and you're used to desert, like you were out in, I don't know, some deserty place of California. And you are so sick of California that you wanted to move to a place that was lush and green. You would probably like Tennessee, right? If you could handle the cons that I mentioned. But depending on how spurgy you are, I'm kind of tired of trees, dude. Honestly, like I've seen, trees are kind of boring to me, honestly. If you've grown up with a thing, you get tired of it, right? I could care less about living in a forest again, right? I feel like an out of place forest elf, right? I feel like Legolas who's destined for the beach. Right, so it can get very boring if you're not used to lakes and trees. Right, it does get old. It does get boring. I grew up on the lake. I've spent a lot of time on Kentucky Lake and so forth. I've had my fill of the lake. All right, I'm kind of tired of it. It's still nice. I appreciate it, but what am I trying to say? Lakes and forests can get old. So, but if you love the camping experience, there we go. If you're a person who just like thirsts for camping, you would love Tennessee because it's very much a campy state. One of my good buddies that I've known for a long time from here, he loves it because like he has always been a hiking, camping, fishing, hunting kind of guy. So, for example, there's a lot of nature preserves with like hardcore hiking. Like you can go hike for days in the nature preserves. By the way, I'm not saying that can be kind of dangerous if you're not used to doing that kind of stuff. I'm not telling you. I'm just saying if that's your thing, you would love Tennessee. I mean, even West Tennessee has like gigantic, hiking stuff. Land Between the Lakes, this kind of stuff, next to Clarksville. Nashville, outside Nashville, has its own big hiking places and this kind of stuff, if you want to do that. Now, if you do move to Tennessee, though, keep in mind you do have to get hunting, fishing permits. So if you just move down here and start hunting and fishing, be prepared because you might get arrested. So there are game wardens, and they will come and like track you and figure out what you're up to. So you can't just literally just start hunting anywhere. You got to get these licenses and whatnot. But people who do move here who are into that, typically you can find and meet people who will let you hunt their land. So that's pretty commonplace, pretty easy, pretty natural and normal in the Tennessee area. So again, that's all the cons, I think. I got hit all the cons there. So a few more of the pros that I'll mention before we go to the super chats. By the way, if you want to support the stream, Q&A via super chat, hit me up there. Through Streamlabs, we do super chats through Streamlabs now on this channel. So as we said, low cost, low state, no income tax, no inheritance tax in Tennessee. The majority of the people are going to be, for the most part, wholesome. I'm not saying everybody's a saint or anything like that, but I'm saying that the average people that you meet, you're going to have Southern hospitality. You're going to find a very communal disposition. You're going to find wholesome people. Now, a lot of the majority of the people are not Orthodox or even Catholic, okay? You're going to get mainly a lot of goofy Protestant stuff, a lot of goofy evangelical stuff. But one of the things that does come with the goofy evangelical stuff is more of a wholesome general population on the average, right? So keep that in mind. So Tennessee is good for people who are interested in becoming self-sufficient, obtaining land, becoming more and more off of the grid. This is the place for you if you want to do that. It's good for, as we said, nature lovers, hiking lovers, fishing lovers, hunting, woods, mountains. That's what you want. Good for people who are into self-defense, who want to have weaponry. If you want to farm, you want a homestead, West Tennessee is ideal. If you... Where's my last couple of pros? I believe, as I said, it's classier than the other southern places. So it's at the top of the totem pole of the southern states. If you're looking for quiet and peacefulness, Tennessee is ideal. You can find a place in Tennessee where you could, say, rent or own a place 10 minutes outside of a city, and you will never hear people. You will never be disturbed except by critters. By the way, no bears in West Tennessee. We don't have any bears. East Tennessee, they do have some bears. I don't think they don't really kill many people, but you're not gonna be dealing with like rabid creatures. However, I do live in a small town, and for whatever reason, the idiots in this town let their rabid dogs run wild. So I have been accosted by gigantic rabid neighborhood packs of dogs before. That has actually happened. So I do a lot of walking, hiking types of things. Beware that you will encounter rabid dogs, crazy dogs. That does exist. But you're not going to meet bears. You're not going to meet... I mean, I hear coyotes every now and then, but I've only seen a coyote once. So, I mean, they're not going to attack you. They don't come into the city. They just stay out in the country. The worst thing you'll encounter if you did live in the country is raccoons will come and screw up your shit. That's it. They'll trash your garbage everywhere. They will eat your dog and cat food. That's about it. There's no other critters. There are snakes. If you're in a swampy area, be prepared, because Tennessee does have swamps. So if you're in a swampy area of West Tennessee, I don't think East Tennessee has swamps really. There might be some, I don't know. Mainly mountains over there, but West Tennessee does have a lot of bogs, a lot of swamps, and there's a lot of snakes. So most of those snakes, however, are not poisonous, but there are rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, and these kinds of things. They are poisonous, but I've never encountered a rattlesnake, but I also don't go in the swamp, right? So I'm not a boggy kind of dude. I've been in a bog or a swamp maybe twice fishing, and I never saw a snake. So that's what you could expect. If you lived rural, if you live in Nashville, you're not going to see any of this. You're not going to see deer. You're not going to see critters, snakes, none of that. Only for the people that move to the country. Okay, so I think I hit everything. Quiet, peaceful places, farms, homestead, yep. Classier than the other southern states, yes. Four Seasons, yes. So there you go. If those kinds of things appeal to you, Tennessee could be the place for you. If not, it won't be. So that's 10 pros, 10 cons right there. Everybody, if you would support the show via the super chats, we got several here. Let's get to these. Looking forward tonight going to see Theo Vaughn, by the way, so he'll be at Zany's. Excited to see that. Hopefully that'll be funny. I mean, I assume it'll be funny. I know his set will be funny. I don't know who the other comedians are, so we'll see. But BMX 1966, $10. Good day, Jay. In regard to the movie, I told you the last super chat, Requiem. The actor is Patrick Dell. I can't read the rest of what you're saying. It looks like French. We had to get Snack over here to decode the French, bro. I don't understand what you're saying. So it's a French movie, I think, is what you're saying. Requiem. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Thank you. BMX 1966 again for $10. Jay, I'd say probably have you venerated the curse root icon? So no, I just missed when that came to my Florida parish, right? So they brought the icon there. It was like just there for a weekend, and I happened to not be there that weekend, but I almost got to see it. It came to the U.S. Yeah, that's when it came to the U.S. is what you're talking about. When our dollar is weaker than your dollar. Cheers anyway. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Genghis Khan, $10. Jayon the Destroyer. That sounds like some kind of a Pokemon thing. I don't know about no Pokemons, man, but whatever. Okay, I'll take it. Real Cooter Brown. That's a Tennessee name right there. $10. We have to hear Hank Jr. hunting story. Well, there wasn't much to that. My uncle was a kind of a prominent figure, and he died back in the late 90s, but for most of his life, he and Hank Jr. were best friends. So they hunted together, fished together. They did all kinds of stuff together. They had a business. Hank used to have he had all of his car collection and some business that he ran, and they had what do you call it? It doesn't even exist anymore, like the travel agency. That's what I'm trying to think of. So my uncle had like a travel agency and this kind of stuff together with Hank and probably other business ventures. I don't know. But I mean, I was little when they were partying and doing all their stuff together. So like, I don't have like some into Hank Jr. Let me call up Hank. Hank says blah, blah, blah. No, it's not like that, right? I mean, I've been around Hank maybe 3-4 times in my life. So I doubt Hank knows who I am or would remember me. But him and my uncle were BFF, so that's how I know that. But anyway, so when I was like 5, we went hunting. We went duck hunting. So the few times I've been deer hunting and duck hunting, very few times. My first hunting venture was with Hank Jr. We went deer hunting when I was about 5. So that's it. Nothing exciting to tell. I remember sitting in the duck blind forever as a child, getting really bored, and I don't think anybody ever let me shoot the gun. So I was just like sitting there. I was like, well, this is boring. I don't get to shoot, but I guess I got to hang out there with Hank for 5 hours in the duck blind. So that was about it. That's all I remember. Chase Haggard, $3. Tennessee is now the property of the Haggards. Whoa, dude. Oh, we're stepping over a lot of lines there. I mean, we're literally just crossed you didn't just cross the state line. You crossed the sanity line there, Chase Haggard. I suggest you back up trying to sell what ain't yours before you get yourself involved in e-drama of hillbilly proportions. Well, you know what I'm going to tell you, Chase? Maybe you need to move to East Tennessee, and maybe you need to move rural out there with the haint feral people. That's where you need to move. And then when you conquer East Tennessee from the Deliverance people, then maybe you can come talk to me. How about that? Diet soda light, $3. I am married, but my bros moved down to the South after I encouraged them, and they said that the dating is easier. Yes, I think that's probably the case. I mean, I don't know what it's like to date in a Yankee country, but I think that if you're looking to have a family, obviously you're going to have a much better chance of finding that in the Bible Belt. Northern girls are mean. Well, I think all of the Northerners are mean, just overall, because, well, they don't have Southern hospitality, right? Excuse me. Marvel Enjoyer, $5. How easy is the access to Funko Pops in Tennessee? Well, unfortunately, we do have comic book nerds, trinket, and toy stores. So I happened to be in a college town the other day, and I noticed that the downtown of this small town had opened up a Funko Pop store. So unfortunately, you would be well serviced in the South now, Marvel Enjoyer. Pano, but please, I wish that you would not move to this. If you love Funko Pops, please move to California or to the North. Pano, $5. What is the Greek presence in Tennessee like? My only experience, so I live in a small town where we did have a Greek Orthodox family. They ran a restaurant. But like in I went to high school with that dude from that family. That was one dude out of a whole high school. The Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Nashville is very large. I mean, it's almost as big as like the Catholic Cathedral in Nashville. So, but how many people are actually ethnically Greek there? I have no idea. But I would say that it's probably not a huge presence, but you know, if you were in Nashville, you would probably find a good number of Greeks. I've been to the Memphis Greek Cathedral, and it's a lot smaller, so probably a much larger dispersion of Greeks in Nashville than Memphis. I did go to the Greek church in Chattanooga, which was smaller, about the same size as the Greek church in Memphis, but I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Nashville is kind of much bigger. I've never been to any churches in Knoxville. Again, I don't spend a lot of time in East Tennessee, so I couldn't say there. But East Tennessee, I forgot to mention, does have its own weird kitschy things. Like there is Gatlinburg. So if you don't know what Gatlinburg is like the redneck version of Las Vegas, minus gambling. So if you're looking for the all of the attractions of Vegas in camo and in redneck garb, you would like Gatlinburg. So I'm talking about how do I describe it? Kitschy, trashy, outlet mall, redneck, go-karts, festival, that kind of a thing. That does exist in Gatlinburg, and that is a draw in the mountains. I've been to Gatlinburg many times, and it's goofy. It's something to see. You can rent chalets up in the mountains, which is okay and kind of nice. There's skiing. There's snow skiing there if you're into that. But yeah, it's kind of like Tennessee's version of Las Vegas. I mean, there's like little wedding chapels like you see in Vegas. I mean, it's a crazy thing. A little on the trashy side, but it's a sight to see, and that's up there with Dollywood, right? So Nashville used to have a big theme park called Opryland, which when we were kids, we all loved going to Opryland because it had, it's basically like Tennessee's version of Six Flags. Opryland went out of business in the late 90s, and now it's a gigantic mall. So if you like malls, I guess there's plenty of that, but I don't know. It seems like malls won't be around much longer. I don't know, but the remaining big Six Flagsy thing is Dollywood. So East Tennessee has that, which is a big theme park, Dolly Parton's theme park, with a bunch of roller coasters and that kind of stuff. So that still does exist. anyway, but again, I don't go to East Tennessee much, so. Greek Groiper, $3. What do you think of Young Earth? I favor that. So as I've said many things, you can go find a lot of my old talks on Genesis. So that's my view of that. Is the Earth billions of years old? I don't think so. Seems unlikely on the biblical narrative. Yeah. So we've got multiple old interviews about that, and I always recommend Genesis Creation, Early Man, Gigantic by Father Seraphim Rose. So if you can get your hands on that, that's what I recommend. Donald Trump, gonna be amazing, wonderful, really. Donald Trump for $5. What is the Atlantis target for Germany? Atlantis, we're talking about Tennessee, dude. What is this? I mean, I'm not mad at you, Don. I know you're the Don. I can't be mad at you, but the Atlantis target for Germany. Well, Quigley says that the Western Seaboard elite targeted the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so that's what they mean by Germany, and Russia, because they're the two competitors to the Anglo-American establishment. That's why. Kristen, $5. Thank you for the inside scoop on Tennessee. Yeah, there you go. I always wanted to live in Tennessee, but I might settle for a winter cabin. Why would you want to come to that? That's the worst time to be in Tennessee. I mean, unless you like winters. I mean, if I live long enough. So did I not sell you on Tennessee, or was it the cons outweighed the pros? Right. Genghis Khan for $5. Cry, little sister, thou shalt not steal. Thank you for that. He's of course referring to the ridiculous song on the Lost Boys soundtrack. Thank you so much for that. Oh man, we got a bunch more super chats. I thought that was it. Norm for $5 and says nothing. And then Norm for $1 and he says, what are jobs that I can do that would allow me to focus on my education without college? Any of the trades, right? I mean, jobs I can do allowing me to focus on education. I don't know if you mean a job that will pay the bills that allows you enough free time to focus on things that you want to study in the sense of like private research, or do you mean a job that will pay the bills where on the job you can research? I mean, when I was in college, I got a job as a research assistant, which allowed me to make enough money just to pay the rent, and all of my time was spent doing research. Prior to that, I was a paint mixer for a mom and pop paint store, which allowed me for 10 years straight to read every day for the most part. So you could look into those. That's what I did. But other jobs that would allow you to focus. I hate the idea of monotonous factory jobs, but I had a lot of buddies who did factory jobs. For example, a lot of people in college would get a job at the local factories because they could do like a part-time that paid pretty good. Or some of them even did full-time and did college. And basically they just did this all day, pulling some dang crank or pushing some button. I don't know. I mean, if you could do that kind of stuff, I guess it allowed those people right time, because back then, I don't know if you still can, but like they would listen to podcasts or listen to books, on audio or on the headphones while they just pulled this stupid crank all day. So maybe that's a thing you could do. Anything that is kind of a mindless job or like a paper push job, that might allow you to focus on mental things that you're interested in. But if you're doing like really strenuous manual labor jobs, you're going to be too exhausted when you get home at night to read. So, yeah, tough question there. I'm not sure, Norm. William Kane, $5. Are there rural OCA or Romanian parishes? No. I mean, the only rural parishes in Tennessee are going to be ROCOR, because ROCOR are typically starting mission parishes. So we just had one start in Lebanon, Tennessee, and that's pretty rural. So that's about an hour outside of Nashville. And I don't know anything about Romanian parishes in Tennessee. Probably not. Again, the bad part of Tennessee for Orthodox churches is that you pretty much have to be in a big city. So that's about it. So Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, that's where the Orthodox churches are. That's it. How is the soil quality? I don't know anything about farming. I don't know anything about soil qualities. I don't know anything about feed. I'm not a farm person. So I wish I could help you out there. No idea. William Kane, $5. How are the homeschooling laws? Oh, that's another thing. I think that was in my pros. I forgot to mention. Yes. Homesteading, and I forgot to mention homeschooling. Very common, very normal in Tennessee. So it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very favorable to homeschooling. Ortho Bro, $3. Is there a good kind of pride or self-esteem and ambition? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that when Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, I mean, that's kind of presupposing a healthy love of self. So no, it's not all forms of self-respect. I mean, if you are made in the image of God, then you have to have some degree of self-respect. That's not narcissism, right? Should we be proud of our achievements? I think we can take a degree of solace in things that we've achieved without becoming prideful, right? Because we do believe in synergy. God really does crown the works that we do. And that's not being prideful if we have done those things, as long as we recognize the source of the good and the grace and the gifts that we have. What about our ancestors' ambitions? I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean there. I mean, I think the right degree of pride in one's family is applicable in the same way as the individual, right? So we're not idolizing our families, but I mean, families were made to have and create their own kind of micro culture and tradition. That's what families do. So that's healthy. Nothing narcissistic about that. So that's the true sense in which Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? Boris, $3. Fart. Quote from Shane Darby in 2022. Okay. This is a local Tennessee Orthodox brother who will catch this inside joke. Okay, so radio people used to dedicate their songs to their loved one. This one goes out to Missy, I love you. And then it's a Bryan Adams song. Nowadays, it's Boris sends a $3 fart dedication. Orthodox Imperium Rising, $15. As a local Orthodox priest has a nice saying about the South that was worth sharing in the North. People say, do you go to church? Whereas people in the South say, where do you go to church? Interesting. So, yeah, that's a good point. Again, you are going to find more of the wholesomes down here in the South for sure. All right, if you would hit like and share. And remember, guys, that you also can help fight against Big Soy by supporting the show sponsor, getting your supplement needs, your supplementation over at chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. That is the Jay's Analysis sponsor. We love chalk.com because they give you the best organic adaptogens. They give you the best supplements out there. I've been taking chalk for 9 months now. I love it. I'll never go back to any other product. And remember, if you're looking for just overall supplementation, the daily is exactly what you need. I highly recommend the daily for overall supplementation. If you're looking for proven testosterone boosting, then you want the Tongkat Ali. The Tongkat Ali is proven in peer-reviewed studies, Tongkat 100, to boost testosterone. If you're looking for just energy, you want the Action 2.0. If you're looking for mental clarity and focus, the Shilajit, the Irish Moss are great for that. Jamie takes Shilajit every day. She loves that. It also helps in sort of balancing hormones for the ladies. Not for the dudes per se, but a dude could take the Shilajit. He could take the ashwagandha. And these are things that a lot of carnivore keto guys have gotten hip to. They like it quite a bit. All their products are rainforest sourced. And so if you go over there right now, it's 100% totally stringently organic. Use the promo code J50 to get 50% off any of the products that you get, any of them. 50% off right now. There's even the excellent superfood addition to your daily regimen, especially if you're into, if you like chocolate things. You want chocolate milk, but you don't want a bunch of sugar. You want a hot chocolate. This is what you want. Right? Very low carb. No sugar in that. There's not any sugar in this. Very low sugar. Very low sugar. So you can basically get hot chocolate with none of the downsides. And it's a superfood. Nathan Clark sends $3 and he says, I live in Nashville. Do you have any good bookstore recommendations? No, dude. I mean, they're basically getting rid of bookstores. I mean, there's one Rhino bookstore left over on, Charlottesville? And you go in there and it's so many freaking cats in there, you can't even breathe. It's like, and the cats are over there, hissing and scratching at you, making you hyperventilate and clog up your pores. Because I'm allergic to cats, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, I can't go in the last freaking bookstore. So, no, Nashville, like everywhere else, has basically, there's no more bookstores. But I have found some decent books at Rhino. Rhino had multiple bookstores, and one of them closed. The one over by Belmont, the one that was right next to Freed Hardeman, that closed down. So now the only Rhino that I can recall that's still open is over on Charlottesville. But that one, I can't even go in there, dude. Like, it's like they're just pumping into the vents cat dander or something. Like, it's just, I have to get Jamie to go in there and look at books. So if you can handle cats, I think Rhino Books is the last independent bookseller. There is in Franklin a classical bookseller, but that's like a bunch of boring ass, like, Civil War era $300 book sets. I don't want any of that. They didn't have anything of interest to me in the antique bookseller place in Franklin. So I don't even know of any other good bookstores anymore. Half price book kind of sucks. I think there's a few of those left. What's that big thing over in Bellevue? There's a giant, it's like a giant nerd mecca where they have video games and DVDs. It's huge. I can't think of the name of it. But that's over in Bellevue, and they actually do have a huge book section. So I bought quite a few. Like, if you go over to the Bible section there, it's gigantic, dude, because it's Nashville, right? A lot of Southern Baptists, a lot of evangelicals. So there are some valuable books that will pop up at that place. I'm just going blank on what that place is. But it actually smells like nerd ass, too. So keep that in mind when you walk into this place. Gigantic used DVD. They probably have Funko Pops out the butt now. What is this place? I'm going blank. Everybody knows about it because it's I forgot to put Nashville. McKay's, right? That's it. I mean, look at that place, dude. It's gigantor, man. So I have bought a lot of stuff at McKay's. But be prepared for, and by the way, the whole upstairs is CDs and records. So they got that. McKay's is probably the best used bookstore left in Nashville, if not the only one, right? Other than Rhino. That's about it. But, be prepared to smell gamer ass when you go into McKay's. So just be ready for that. Frankie D, $5. Me and my brothers are listening to you on our way to Montanica. Could you do Bill Gates talking about buying up land with water so that he can get the population numbers down? One thing that we got to do in our day is buy up the land so that we can get Really what we want to do is create more and more the phenomenon of micro penises. One thing I learned at Microsoft was that to get the numbers down, you got to get the size of the wee-wees down. And one way to do that is to really toxify the groundwater. So how's that? Anyway. All right. Thank you guys so much. Head over to talk.com. By the way, also at talk.com, they have the recurring subscription feature, which you use the different promo code J53Life, L-I-F-E, J-A-Y-53 L-I-F-E. And you put that promo code in when you want to do the recurring subscriptions, because that's a lot easier than if you, like, you know how Amazon does this, where if you buy a supplement, they'll say, do you want to order this again? Right. And then you just put it into recurring, so you don't have to every month remember to go back and do it. So Chalk has that feature now. They also have stacks for guys. You can just order that guy stack. They have the stacks for girls, or that girl stack. And by doing that, you also support my show. So you keep me going, you keep us on the air, because they're our main chief sponsor. We love Chalk. They're an awesome Bays Red Pill company based out of Austin, based out of the South. Good, wholesome, salt of the earth fast boys over there at Chalk. And we love those guys. Nathan Clark, $1. Yeah, I like McKay's. I saw Sam Hyde's book there, but I didn't buy it. It was a huge mistake. It's now $800 online. Oh, damn, son. Yeah, you should have bought that. I found some good critiques of Darwin books over there in the Bible section. Their conspiracy section is pretty sucky, though. It's like all just Templar alien crap. I mean, it's garbage over there. They had a couple good philosophy books, but I mean, that's about it. I mean, McKay's is about all that's left. I mean, Rhino, does it even exist? I don't even know. Let's see. Let's see if Rhino still exists. So it looks like, yeah, that one. Or is there two now? No, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. So this is the one that's left. And that's about the only one. And we look at these pictures, you'll probably see the cat in there trying to kill people. Cat sneezing in people's faces. Probably trying to assassinate me. They're like, we know this guy. He's online. They have some pretty expensive books up front too in these cases at Rhino. So they've got some obscure collectibles, if that's what you're into. But that's about it. Now, maybe I was going to listen to some of these videos, but never mind. It's just all these other videos of people talking about Tennessee are millennials and realtors. So we all know that realtors and millennials don't know anything. Only listen to me. Don't listen to any millennials or realtors or Zoomers. They don't know anything about Tennessee. I know everything about Tennessee. Anyway, everybody have a good night. God bless. And I will see you soon.